Welcome back to Talmbout Wrestling, right here on the Black Fitness Network. I'm your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. If you saw, then you know we are here to commemorate the career. Okay, no, we're not. Really. I just really wanted to do that because it's been a while. This is what I had intended last time. So here we are, right? So thank you guys. Once again, I am back. Sorry for the delay. I wasn't here last week. I haven't done a What's Up Wednesday in 2 weeks. I am tripping. But I am back to deliver this week's Talking About Wrestling. And this is going to be one of those times. Because if you know, you know. When we take a week off like that, we come back with a Super Show. So, this is definitely going to be a Talking About Wrestling Super Show. It's been a while. I know it's late time-wise. I had a lot of technical difficulties this morning trying to get everything together, but it finally got up and working. We're finally back in the saddle. So, we're going to cover everything from the last 2 weeks of wrestling. It's a lot. It has been a lot. You got like 2 Dynamites in there, some stuff on Collision, because Collision has actually been pretty banging, and some serious stuff happened there. We got the Rumble and all the fallout of the Rumble, SmackDown, Raw, and all of that. There's a lot happening in the world of wrestling, and I probably won't even be able to get to because normally what happens here is that I do the show, and then afterwards I'm like, no, I forgot to talk about this thing. So hopefully we don't do that this time, but we might. Who knows? But first and foremost, thank you all for tuning in again. Thank you for sticking around. Did you miss me? Right? Thank you for sticking around. And as always, please make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe, like the post, share the post, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the page. Make sure you do that here on Substack. Make sure you do it here if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you do it on Spotify. Make sure you leave a rating, a review. The name of the game, as I always say, is engagement. Engagement, engagement, engagement. We want to grow this as much as possible. It's Super Bowl weekend. I only said that because I just saw an ad on my computer. But nonetheless, make sure we want to reach the end zone, okay? We want to win the championship, all right? We want to get that ring, that trophy. We want it. That champion, that doesn't fit here because it's wrestling, right? We want the championship belt. I got a couple, but I want another one. They call me the belt collector, right? And I can't get that without you guys. Be phenomenal. Subscribe to the channel. All right, that's it for commercial mode. I probably need to cut that as commercial too, right? That's it for commercial mode. I know what you're here for. You kind of saw it, but let's do the real reveal. Here we go. I'm going to take these gloves off too. Keeping it real simple, keeping it real classic. AJ Styles P1. This is actually a baseball tee. And that blue looks really vibrant in this camera because it's not as much as it actually looks like it is. Nothing on the back. It's simple. Simple P1. AJ Styles representing for a little razzle dazzle, only because my hair is messed up and I hadn't had a chance to get it done yet. This is the Finn Balor. If you know, you know. This is the early NXT when they actually cared about Finn skull cap. So I actually think he might have wore this on TV once, but I could be wrong. Shout out. I don't even remember. I'm pretty sure I just ordered this shirt off of WWEshop.com because this is nothing they would have at a live event. But I've always been a fan. I mentioned this, I think, in a group during the Rumble, actually. I have always been I was a fan of a lot of AJ Styles' TNA merchandise. This P1 logo, I think, was so perfect for him. And they found ways to incorporate it that weren't overly complicated, but really accentuated the logo. WWE immediately had no idea what to do with AJ Styles merch because of the way they do merch. So much of them is like, it has to be a slogan, it has to be a catchphrase, it has to be a thing, right? So the first thing they did was come up with their own AJ logo, because the first shirt didn't even have this on there, which was, why not? The first shirt was like an AJ, and it wasn't even the AJ logo that they made that looks like the P1 logo, which I do not like. Get into that. It was like a P1 in like a Roman numeral kind of thing. Not Roman, but a Gothic type font. And then they came out with like, and then it's all kind of other stuff. It's like, if it ain't P1, they don't want none. The face that runs the place. It's all these different, like, they try to put it on catchphrases and slogans and things like that. Then they came out with the AJ logo that he uses that kind of looks like P1, but it's like AJ. And I'm like, I don't like that just because it feels like a WWE creation, because the P1 logo got it so right the first time. Now, being that this was the anniversary of his 10 years in WWE, his debut in WWE 10 years ago, it was 2015. Being in that debut, they released a lot of P10 gear, and he kind of wore that on some of his gear in the ring. That I actually liked, because that's clever, right? But even all of that still has the fucking AJ thing, and I stop. Now he's worn it because he has P1 and AJ, P1 on one side, AJ on one side. I think he had that on actually at the Rumble. I didn't even talk about Saturday night's main event. I didn't even talk about that because that was supposed to be the thing. I was supposed to talk about all of that. So you see, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm glad I thought about that. So yeah. So I'm not a fan of most of WWE's AJ Styles merch. However, they do have, I will say this, they do have an AJ Styles belt in the manner that they have all the other signature belts for different people. They have one for AJ now, and I am very happy about that. I don't even want any of the signature belts ever. Usually, like, they started out kind of cool, and then like the Shawn Michaels one was cool, the Bret Hart one was cool, even the original Hulk Hogan one actually was kind of cool. Once they started making it like a thing, and they cost so freaking much, then it's like, yeah, I'm not interested. But I do think they're very cool, just in general. So, glad to see AJ get one. I will say that much. But nonetheless, let's see. Let's get it cracking. Let's go. All right. So now we got shirt of the day out of the way. All right. I did my commercial for the thing, and so let's start from the top. Let's start from the top, because we're gonna start with WWE, because I actually have watched a good deal of WWE. And by a good deal, I mean I watched Saturday night's main event, and I watched the Rumble. Sidebar: the things that I had to go through to watch the Royal Rumble, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I don't like what I had to do. Listen, there are people who still say that the ESPN app is or the whole thing is like cumbersome to try to find. It is. It is. And then when I finally did get it kind of working, like I had this weird double sound issue. So then I had to try to do it another way. And then that way didn't necessarily work. So then like eventually it just figured itself out, I guess. But it was not a pleasant experience trying to even get to watch that. So that's the start there. First thing. That was for the Rumble. But aside from that, actually wasn't all that bad. Let's start with Saturday night's main event. That was the Saturday before. And the plan was for me to come back, review Saturday night's main event, give my Rumble picks, and then so on and so forth. So now we have to cover Saturday night's main event because I think I made some picks there. Then we have to cover the Rumble and see how I did on my picks there. And then I'll talk some about Raw SmackDown because I didn't watch, but I know kind of I have some notes on what happened. So we'll go through that and cover that as well. So we're actually going to start with WWE. Go figure. So we're going to start with Saturday night's main event first and foremost. Like I said, that was, I only watched for one thing. Had they not announced this match, I would not have watched. But the Shinsuke Nakamura AJ Styles match. I think I mentioned last time I was in the building for WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans, where they had their long-awaited rematch from New Japan that did not live up to the New Japan thing. And I acted like that was the last time, but it wasn't because I forgot they feuded for like a few more shows after that. None of the matches got even close to the New Japan era. But that was also under a Vince leadership, and Vince wanted his matches a certain way. And WWE still does do their matches a certain way, but that particular match, was never going to be New Japan, but you wanted it to be great for a WWE match, right? Over the years here recently, that standard has kind of changed in what a WWE match can be. It's still about cinema and moments, and they still move at, essentially snail's pace. I saw Meltzer say, if you go from watching a an AEW show to a WWE show, it's like watching them. It's like they're moving in slow motion, and it is. Like it really is that. Like AEW moves at such a pace that a WWE show is like just. It's not even that it's boring. It's just that it's like I said, it's half speed in comparison. So, I don't know what to do with that, but nonetheless, because I watched Saturday night main event and then I turned around and watched Collision afterwards. That Collision was not necessarily all that, I guess, newsworthy. And I actually think I ended up having to watch it like the next day because I probably fell asleep on it because it was just because I'm old. I say it again, because I'm old. But nonetheless, so we're starting with Saturday night's main event. I was snowed / iced in for both of these shows, actually. Whether in the South, whether in Memphis, of course, wasn't all that bad, but I was trapped in the house for like 2 weeks. So go figure. So nonetheless, let's go. Saturday night's main event. Opening match, Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, didn't even happen. They pretty much just brawled all over the place, which makes sense, right? They didn't want to give Jacob Fatu a loss coming back. Probably didn't want to pin Cody going into the Rumble. So they just brawled and brawled and brawled all over the building until Drew came out and got involved and took both of them out. It was like, oh, well, that's one way to do that. Pretty sure I can get where this is heading for Mania, and if it's not, I'll be blown away. But whatever. Next up, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley taking on Judgment Day. That's Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. That actually was a really good match, of course. All things considered. I mean, not even all things considered, it just was a really good tag team match. Io and Rhea uh, are a great team together. Of course, the Liv Morgan, Roxanne Perez angle of things is always interesting. So that was interesting. You had interference, of course, Raquel Rodriguez came out. Stephanie Vaquer came out to Vaquer, yeah, came out to even up the score, and of course the baby faces take the dub. You get, and then next up we had what I was here for: AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. And listen, if I said it before, I'll say it again. I am a sucker for callbacks, for sequels, for you know uh, all that type of thing, continuations, Easter eggs. I'm here for all of that. There were so many of them in this match from the New Japan match, and they finally delivered what I think people wanted them to deliver at WrestleMania 34. That's, I think, was that match. I think there was such a creative lull around that time anyway that, you know, I don't know if that match could have been what we wanted it to be, right? So it's kind of like, well, all right. It's you get what you get, right? So they absolutely delivered. Shinsuke, who has had the most stop and start run, not even the most, because there have been others, but who has an absolute stop and start run in WWE. Like, they'll do something with him, then he falls off. And they'll do something with him, and then he starts off. And they'll do something with him, and then he falls off. Over and over and over again. That's been the run since he got there, really. And it's so funny that Shinsuke and Asuka both won that Rumble that year. Both went on to lose that year. And both have a very, I think Asuka's fared better than Shinsuke has, because Shinsuke hadn't had a world championship. Asuka has been champion a few times over, tag team. Shinsuke doesn't have anything. He had like an Intercontinental title championship run and maybe United States for a minute. That is it. I don't even know if he had, he had the Intercontinental, I think. But that's it. No, he may have had a tag run at some point. I think so, with like Cesaro or something. Maybe. Again, it's all a stretch. His career in WWE has not been nearly as successful as Asuka's has. And that's saying a lot, because Asuka's has been successful, but not as successful as it was in NXT. There is a lot to be said in general about the difference between people in NXT, especially under Triple H, and when they came up to Main, and what their WWE run is. So, story for another day. Nonetheless, this match was really great. And it was after this match that I started hearing something that I didn't expect to hear. And I don't know if I mentioned it in the last show or not that I did, but I mentioned, because I heard the theory that we actually have been watching AJ's retirement tour this whole time. And I was like, wait, what? 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 Some of these matches were really memorable. The John Cena match, when he called back to his TNA gear and all of that. Even, I mean, it was like, I want to say it was at 39. I don't think it was at 40. It was Mania. No, maybe it was Mania 40. Whichever. Yeah. I think it was 39. When AJ went, or whatever event it was. Let me say, it might not have even been WrestleMania. SummerSlam. It was SummerSlam, actually. SummerSlam against Dom, when he comes out in the Eddie Guerrero type gear and in the low rider and everything like that. It's kind of a switch, something different that he hadn't done. I was like, oh, that's different. So he's been doing some interesting things for this for the last year, really. Tag team run with Dragon Lee with the titles. Like I said, that match with Cena, the match with Dom. So then there was this match. And then the following Raw, he main evented with CM Punk for the title. And that's a dream match too. We've been getting these dream matches that are like, huh. You know. So were we watching the farewell tour? Moving on. Number one contender fatal 4-way match. Of course, Sami Zayn got the win. I think I predicted that as well. Because it made sense for him to go to Saudi. This match was interesting. Big to see Trick Williams. Tricky is a star. Period. I saw something not too long ago. People complaining that Trick Williams is getting the spotlight that he's getting the push that he's getting. I need people to remember Carmelo kind of got a similar thing when he first came, and then they kind of just pushed him to the back. I don't know if they're going to do that with Trick for real. Putting him in that main event scene this way, in the title scene this way, is absolutely the right move. And we're going to see big things out of Trick. But this was Sami Zayn, like, because of course Sami Zayn was going to go to Saudi Arabia and face Drew. A lot of people were actually thinking that that Sami could have won in Saudi Arabia. But if you saw my picks from the written form of Talmbout Wrestling from last week, if you saw my picks, obviously I'm like, it makes a lot of sense for Sami to win, at least from the hometown perspective. But there's no scenario that I see Sami Zayn going into WrestleMania. There's no story for anything with Sami going into WrestleMania. There just isn't as champion. There was nobody in the Rumble that it made sense for him to face. There's nobody in the just period. There was nobody, period, that it makes sense for Sami to face at Mania. No storyline, even if you just want to go with, because here's the thing that they kind of do with the Rumble now, right? Typically, like, the person who wins the Rumble, there's kind of a story there still. And the Rumble just kind of plays into the story. Now, that wasn't the case with Jay versus Gunther last year. And it technically wasn't the case with Cody versus Roman the first year. But a lot of times, like, there's usually like a kind of a story that goes with the person who wins the Rumble. You wouldn't think that necessarily with Roman this year because he didn't really have a beef with Drew necessarily, though they could have ran it that way. It would have been fine. Quick spoiler alert, I guess, to that. But they're going the way they're going. I think it's going to be kind of similar with Liv in one way or another. Also, again, spoiler alert. So, so again, Bianca, Sasha from years ago. I'll start there. Wasn't a story, but there was a story, right? Like there are other things she could have done, but that made sense for this reason. There's nothing like that for Sami. If Kevin Owens wasn't coming back, because that's the only match that kind of made sense. If Kevin Owens wasn't coming back, there's nothing for Sami at Mania. I don't even know what he would do without the title, if I'm being honest. So, go figure. So, he won here at Saturday night's main event, but saw my picks, exactly how I felt about the Rumble. So, moving on, let's talk about the Rumble. First and foremost, a lot of discourse about this online. The Rumble looked empty. It looked so empty because the stadium that they decided to build within about 30 days or however long it took, they did this weird thing where they put these lights above the seats. And it looked cool visually from like certain camera perspectives that they could do weird things with the lights, but it made the arena look absolutely empty. And I've seen a bunch of different theories and a bunch of different like, this, that, and the other. I've seen videos, people who were there. I've seen theories from people who weren't there. All these things about what people were doing or what was happening with the crowd. The people were there. I do absolutely believe the people were there. You could not see them, period. You could not see them. That was one of the worst decisions that I think I've ever seen. Like, who made that call? Because it literally looked like nobody was there. It looked like an absolutely empty crowd. They were there. It looked like pandemic era. So it's crazy. So that was the thing. All in all, the show was nothing to write home about per se, but it wasn't bad either. By any stretch of the imagination, Royal Rumble is always fun. So it's one of those things that, like, even if it's not the best, and even if it's maybe even downright bad, there is some level of fun to it. Just from the format of the matches themselves. Sometimes the format's there and then they still lay a turd, but for the most part, they typically nail the Rumble. So they did a good job with that. What did we get in the Rumble? We started out, I'm not going to go through like all of it, but just some things that I think kind of stuck out. And I'm glad this looks like this on what I'm looking at, so I can do that. So we started out 1 and 2 with Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss in the ring. And it's like, it's funny. It's one of those things. I love when my wrestling IQ just activates, because Charlotte was number 1. And prior to, in like the pre-show, they showed Charlotte doing an interview and she's talking about, it's the first time going into a Rumble where I have a friend, and it is my friend and I do want to win, but I want her to win as well. But it's everyone for. So she's having this whole kind of crisis of confidence or crisis of what to do kind of thing. And then she comes out number 1. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I immediately like, this sets the stage for Alexa to be number 2. And then you hear da 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 da. I was like, did it. I need to start doing prop bets. That's what I need to start doing. I need to start like betting on these types of things. I need some money because I just took a pay cut. So that was interesting. You had Kiana James, Nia Jax, Ivy Now, Lola Vice, Candice LeRae. Jordan Grace comes in, House of Fire. Jordan Grace was my sleeper pick, my dark horse, because of everything that they've kind of been setting up on SmackDown with her and Jade. Didn't know if they will be able to stretch that all the way to Mania, but I could absolutely see that being the match for Jade, because I don't think there's a direct path for Jade anywhere, except for who was my number 1 pick, who was Bianca. So like, if it's not Bianca, then it's probably Jordan Grace, because they're kind of setting something up with her and Jade for Mania, looks like. So she comes in, House of Fire, eliminates a few people. Okay, they're gonna do a thing like that. All right, cool. Because they're doing about order elimination. All right, cool. So ultimately, Jordan gets some eliminations. She gets Lola Vice, Candice LeRae, Ivan I gets them out of there. Charlotte goes to eliminate Nia and accidentally eliminates Nia and Alexa Bliss. So that's interesting. Then we got Becky Lynch out. Sol Ruka comes out, best dressed in the women's match, because we didn't discuss that it was Catsuit City in Saudi Arabia, because the ladies can't show any skin, but so it was Catsuit City. Everybody in catsuit. Everybody in a catsuit, except for Sol Ruka. Sol Ruka actually looked more like Lita. The outfit reminded me of Lita. She kind of had a cargo pants. She looked like she was covered, but it didn't look like the typical the typical thing. So, best dressed in the women's rumble was absolutely Saul Ruka, or at least in terms of most creatively, because she looked different than anybody else. Everybody else with catsuit, different color catsuits. There was a video of some of the ladies as Power Rangers, basically, because they just had all the different colors catsuits things. All of that. Roxanne Perez comes out. She's the first from Judgment Day to be out in the ring. Then you get Maxine Dupree, followed by Natty. Quick thing with Natty here. There's a lot because you got all these people and they're different little points and things. So I had different points that I brought out in the group. So Maxine Dupree comes out. Here comes Natty. Of course, Natty recently turned heel on Maxine, and she's going to be the new, she's not Natalia. She's the, leaning to that low-key legend thing, and this new Natty that everybody knows that runs the dungeon and all of that kind of stuff. That's who she is now. And I'm cool with all of that. I'm great with all of that. One thing. Can she have her last name? Can she be Natty Neidhart at least? If you're going to do that. It's no better. Natalia, when they called her Natalia, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Because Natalia Neidhart is a mouthful. Natty is just one name. Doesn't work. Because every time she does something, Natty, and Natty does this, and Natty did this, and Natty, and it's like, it's one of them times to call her Neidhart would work a little better. Because calling her just Natty sounds silly, and it reeks of divas. It reeks of WWE divas. And I had no problem with WWE divas. But give her a last name. Let her be Natty Neidhart. Please. Natty Kid. Hell, I don't care. That doesn't sound as good either. But yeah, just do something. Give her a last name. Because Natty as a solo just doesn't do it. Becky Lynch eliminates Maxine Dupree. Natty eliminates Becky Lynch. Then we get Liv Morgan out. Now, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are here. You have 2/3 of the ladies of Judgment Day in the building, in the match. Things are looking good for them. Lash Legend comes out. Lash Legend had a showing as well. Listen, I've been very high on Lash Legend for a while. She's green. She's still green. But I feel like her evolution, her growth is comparable, and I would even say maybe a little bit better than what we typically see out of Jade. Now, Jade can pull it out, but I think I've liked what I've seen from Lash Legend better than what I had seen out of Jade thus far. Internet's gonna kill me for that one. But shout out to Jade. Hey, no hate, no mind, baby. Okay, little baby. All right. There's Zelina Vega coming out to some very poppy music, considering that she's now the dark and spooky wife of Aleister Black. But that music is still just very, very upbeat and bouncy. So go figure. Lash Legend actually eliminated Jordan Grace. Now we get Raquel Rodriguez out. So now we got all of the ladies at Judgment Day in the building. Now we about to run the Rumble, baby. All right. They get Kiana James out of there. Next up, we got Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green comes out. She has the comedy spot of the match. It's not really the Kofi spot, but close. Where she's the one that actually she comes out with Alba Fire and staves off elimination a couple of times due to Alba. Like one time she was out and she ended up like landing on Alba's back, and they like crawled her around. She caught her around the ring and got back in. So they did a lot of creative spots with Alba Fire and Chelsea Green to keep her in the match. So she kind of had that spot of the thing. Next up, we had Julia coming out. Then we had Io Sky coming out, Asuka, Rhea Ripley. And then we get a few more eliminations. Julia eliminates Zelina Vega. Rhea eliminates Chelsea Green finally, and Roxanne Perez. We're getting down to the nitty gritty because now we're up to 23. Next comes Bailey. So now, like, okay, cool, we're getting up here. All right, cool. It's like, so when is Bianca coming out? When is Bianca coming out? Next out, we had JC Jane. Okay, NXT, because you got to get your NXTs up there. Sidebar again, I know another thing that I was supposed to mention here. Now that I'm thinking about this, because I was supposed to go to Nashville for the NXT show. And I was supposed to go to watch the Rumble in the theater in Nashville. We got iced in. I wasn't able to go. But I do know that some people weren't in Nashville, and so I knew those people were probably going to be at the Rumble. Some of these fan favorites. JC James is one of those people. Kalani Jordan, I think, wasn't there. And I was like, because I saw the results. So she's probably there too. But like, a few others were there. So there's that. Liv Morgan gets rid of Natty. Nikki Bella shows up. So, okay. Lyra Valkyria, of course, comes out. She eliminates Julia. We get Kalani Jordan out at 27. And now I'm like, okay, we're getting kind of thin here. I was sure with Kalani that was Bianca's spot. But okay. Kyrie's out. And now I'm counting at this point because I'm like, okay, cool. So there's not that many women left on the roster, right? And Bianca's definitely one of these spots. She got to be coming back tonight. So we get Kyrie out. Kyrie is number 28. So Kyrie essentially ends up accidentally eliminating Asuka. And then Io eliminates Kyrie. And we're at 29. It's like, all right, 2 left. One of these gotta be Bianca, right? So that's my pick. Jordan Gray's gone, so what else? Brie mode. What? Brie, what? So it's Brie Bella, of course. And Brie comes out, and Nikki's, of course, still in there because she just came in, at 25? So now we have a Bella's reunion, and she comes in, and of course she does all the Bryan Danielson stuff, the yes kicks, and their fans are yes. You know what? And then I realized, I hate to say this, and this is no shade to Brie, Nikki, Bryan Danielson. That name was perfect. I'm sorry. There's no shade to none of them. But listen, let me tell you something. There are people who care that Nikki's back. There are probably some people that kind of care that Brie's back, but not the general public cares that Brie's back. Nobody really care that the Bellas are back. For real. People care about Bryan Danielson. There's nothing about Brie that people are like, oh, Brie's back and she's gonna do. No, you're Daniel Bryan light. You give us an excuse to chant yes. And then here comes Bully Ray dumbass post talking about, no doubt there's a chance that Bryan Danielson can come back in WWE. Now his wife back over there. No. Highly doubt it. Back to do what? If anything, maybe train at best. Highly doubt it. But whatever. There's one left. So it makes sense. Bianca come out at 30. Huge pop. She doesn't have to stick the rest of the match because she hadn't had a match in damn near a year at this point. So maybe get her cardio together. So cool. It's Tiffy time. Me. The whole time. So it's Tiffany Stratton, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. So now everybody's in the ring, and this is where we get our longest stretch of eliminations here as we go to the finish. No Bianca Belair. I have no clue who's winning this thing. I'm like, well, Tiffany's there, so maybe Tiffany's going to win. That's the only person. I mean, Tiffany wins and she gets a rematch against Jade, I guess. Yay, WrestleMania. Guess we getting back on the Tiffy train. All right. Brie eliminates Lyra Valkyria. Nikki eliminates Bailey. JC Jane eliminates Kalani Jordan. Soul Ruka eliminates JC Jane. Lash Legend eliminates both Bellas. And thank you, Lash. Then Lash eliminates Charlotte Flair. Thank you, Lash. Yes, yes. So happy because I didn't want to see This is what I said about Charlotte. I didn't think Charlotte was going to win. Had no idea. Had no inkling at all that she was going to win. But just get her out of here early, so we don't even have to play it. Why are we even playing with it? Why? You could have let Becky go to the end, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, that works. Also, fun fact, because remember, I get through this entire 30. No Bianca Belair, no AJ Lee. No AJ Lee. I could have sworn we were doing AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch for Mania. No AJ Lee. Because this definitely would have been the place to extend that just a little bit more, at least naturally, but we didn't do it. Interesting. Anywho, Lash Legend eliminates Io Sky. Lash is on fire. Until she's eliminated by Rhea Ripley. But then Raquel Rodriguez eliminates Rhea Ripley. And lo and behold, Liv Morgan eliminates Raquel Rodriguez. And then I said, oh, well, that makes sense. Now I have a through line. We're down to Liv Morgan, Sol Ruka, and Tiffany Stratton. And I said, well, I mean, by this point now, I'm all in on Tiffany Stratton. Sol Ruka, they're all on the apron. And while we have these battles on the apron like that, instead, it defies like normal wrestling logic or common sense logic because it's like, hey, I'm on this apron, I probably could fall. But these people on the apron, and I could just roll back in the ring, and like, there's a good chance I could eliminate them from inside the ring and not be in danger. But whatever. And the way this ends is they're on the apron. Sol Ruka attempts a soul snatcher on the apron. And Tiffany essentially just pushes her off to eliminate her. Now, allow me to look something up because there's a bit of news that just came out about this that I want to address before I get to the finish. And I'm getting this courtesy of eWrestlingNews.com. Just want to throw that out there. Usually where I go for when I just want to get the news all in one place because I usually want to get it from Fightful Select. I trust their news more than anybody. So apparently, Fightful Select, speaking of, is reporting that Sol Ruka questioned the decision to perform the Soul Snatcher spot on the outside of the ring. But they stood by the plan and moved forward with the sequence. Because it didn't make sense. Because why would you do that? It's stupid. It's a stupid move. Anywho, ultimately, Liv Morgan eliminates Tiffany Stratton, and Liv Morgan is your winner. And I said, what in the hell are we doing there? But then I said, oh, wait, through line. Because I can guarantee you this thing, eliminating Raquel, will come back into play. And Raquel had a match against Stephanie Vaquero on Raw that she lost, but could have won. I thought would have, But there is space now. Whether the match will involve Raquel Rodriguez, there's something there. There's something to this Raquel and Liv Morgan thing that eventually will come to pass. So there's a lane. There's a lane. That match actually was pretty good. Again, disappointment in a few things that I thought didn't make sense. Like I said, no Bianca just because I wanted it. No AJ Lee didn't make sense. Didn't need Charlotte all the way that close to the end. Don't really care about Brie coming back. But all in all, and of course, Katsu City is just blah in the natty thing. But good showing by Lash. Sol Ruger lasting until the end, also very good. Good things came out of this match. It wasn't the greatest, but it was a very good Royal Rumble match. I'm not even gonna lie to you there. Next up, we had the retirement match. Gunther defeating AJ Styles, and AJ Styles had to retire if he lost. They put on a match. Gunther beat the shit out of AJ Styles, but he didn't go down without a fight. But all in all, Gunther locked in that sleeper, put him to sleep. Now, the reason I didn't get that much to the match because of what comes next, because I'm going to have to talk about this at length. So, the match ends. Fans are giving him a standing ovation, clapping. Everybody's knowing that he's giving the emotional thing. So he's in the ring. He takes off his gloves. He's going to leave his gloves in the ring, a la John Cena leaving his stuff in the ring. I mean, it's the symbol. Leave your boots in the ring. Leave something in the ring to signify, you're leaving it all in the ring. So this time it would have been his gloves. And takes the gloves off. He's really slow. He's teasing it. So emotional. He leans down to put him down, and he stands up, puts it back on, goes in the corner, gives the too sweet, and then he leaves. And then we go, say, what? He's not done. I don't think he's done. I said it in the article that I wrote giving my picks. Gunther was my pick to win. I didn't entirely think they would do that, but it made sense. So, Gunther was my pick to win, but I didn't know if AJ was done. There are people talk. There's been a lot since then about AJ going to AEW. He needs to go to AEW, and people are booking what his run needs to look like in AEW. I don't see that happening. I see and would like more, as much as I would love to see him in AEW, because there's so many matches I would love to see. It makes sense to me for him to go have his last match and retire for real in TNA. Because there are one or two things. Does he go back to the place where he started to end things? Because he doesn't, from what I've kind of seen sometimes with him, he doesn't have the most, he doesn't always seem to have the fondest of feelings about TNA because of how things ended. But that could be because of the management itself and not the company. And that could go a long way because there's obviously very new management there. So maybe I would love to see that. There's not as much connective tissue there as it is in AEW, but I would rather see him have his final match in TNA than I would rather him in AEW from a legacy standpoint. Now, it's one of the sickos. Pump that into my veins. Him in AEW. Give me Will Ospreay, MJF, Swerve Strickland, Kenny Omega, something with the Bucks, Mark Briscoe, Joe again. Him and Joe in AEW would bang. Yes, pump that in. Absolutely. Darby, Brody, Bandito, Kyle Fletcher, AJ Styles, Kyle Fletcher, AJ Styles, Okada. Yeah, pump, give me that. Yes, give me that. But I would much rather see him in TNA from the sentimental perspective. That's all. Next up, we had Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn for the title. Of course, Drew McIntyre gets the 1-2-3 on Sami Zayn. Decent match, pretty decent match. They really left it in the ring as well. Don't know where they go with Sami. Again, I don't know if there's a program for Sami. Even it's just there's nothing ready made. He's not integrated into stories the way he was at 40. I'm sorry. At 39 or 40, actually. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do with Sami this time around. Drew has a seemingly clear path, so we'll see where that goes. Then we got the men's rumble. And boy, there's some things here. There's some things to talk about here, baby. Little baby. All right. Give me a second. I'm gonna plug some things. I'm gonna move some things around. But I'm gonna talk about it while a minute. So number one, we get, and it makes perfectly good sense. Excuse me there for a second, people. Good people. There we go. So number one in the rumble, we get the ruler, Obafemi. Did I knock myself out of the side right there? Picture. Number two coming out, we got Braun Breaker, which was interesting because they had already announced that Braun Breaker was number two. After slipping up and revealing that he was number one on SmackDown the night before, so I think they switched it just to whatever. So it's like, oh, we're gonna get Oprah and Braun right off the bat. Oh, but then before Braun can get in the ring, he's attacked by somebody in a hoodie because, of course, that's the way to do things. Super kick, curb stomp, throws him in the ring. Oba immediately eliminates him. The ruler rules the ring. And Braun Breaker is out at 2. Wow. Next up, we got Solo Sikoa. That's also, big meaty me and slapping meat. Then we get Rey Mysterio. And then we get Rusev. Rusev lasts about 30 seconds. Rusev comes in the ring, does a few things. Oba gets him up out of there. 30 seconds. I mean, I guess being in the Rumble for 30 seconds is better than not being on AEW TV. Go figure. Then Oba gets Solo up out of there. Then Oba gets Rey Mysterio up out of there. We get Matt Cardona coming out. And then Oba get him up out of there. The ruler is ruling the ring. Hell of a start for Obafemi. Immediately knocks out 5. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eliminations right off the bat. Love to see it. The next up, we get Damian Priest. Javon Evans, of course, comes out. Mr. Iguana. And then whoop that Trick Williams. In his white mink coat, his lemon pepper steppers. And for the first, minute or so, he's doing, he eliminates Mr. Iguana, I think, while he still has the coat on. Man's is wild. Man's is wild. And then we get this, you've seen the picture, I'm sure, of Javon, Trick, and Oba all in the ring at the same time. Highlighted. You know that shot just had to be Triple H saying, see? See? Look. Whatever. Next, we have Cody Rhodes. Then we got El Grande Americano. And then we got El Grande Americano. Huh? Again, wrestling IQ, right? El Grande Americano comes out. He's doing a thing. And I said, you know what would be neat? is if El Original, El Grande Americano, comes out right after him. And sure enough, the Original, El Grande Americano, comes out and eliminates the imposter, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know what we're calling him. And then he's eliminated by Trick. And then Trick is eliminated by Cody. And it's like, you couldn't hang in there a little while longer? But I guess you had to turn off a little bit of that darkness because we about to turn it way back up because Powerhouse Hobbs. I mean Royce Keys, because that's how it happened. Like it was a whoop with a lot of the Powerhouse Hobbs, and then they broke down, and then was Royce Keys is out. And he comes and he eliminates Damian Priest. Nice. Next up, we get Austin Theory. We get Bronson Reed, Ilya Dragunov, La Parka, Dragon Lee, Logan Paul. The division is full except for Brian Breaker because he got stomped in the head and eliminated earlier. And now there's the who done it, who eliminated Brian Breaker. So there's that. Bronson Reed eliminates Royce Keys. So much for that. Austin Theory eliminates La Parka. Bronson Reed eliminates Dragon Lee. The division is on fire. LA Knight comes out and LA Knight gets rid of Austin Theory and Bronson Reed. So much for that. Logan Paul is solo dolo in there. And then we get Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar comes out like a house of fire. And he's throwing motherfuckers around. And it's wild. I guess. Then you get the Miz. And during that, you got like Brock Lesnar is no selling Ilya Dragunov's offense completely, and people kind of been making a thing about it because Ilya is supposed to be this like heavy hitter and everything. And Brock's got a no selling, and they're like, did he mean no sell? Like, what's he said? Whatever. I don't think it was that big of a deal necessarily, but if he kind of went into business for himself and was like, I'm not selling this bullshit, that sucks. But I mean, Ilya Dragunov's kind of a small dude, all things considering, versus somebody like Brock. Kind of makes sense. Though, you are supposed to put him over as the striker that he is. So, I mean, yeah, go figure. Rey Fenix is next. Eliminated by Brock Lesnar. It wasn't even that long. We finally get a bit of a showdown with Obafemi and Brock Lesnar. Eventually, Brock eliminates Oba. I didn't like that because I feel like it didn't Oba didn't get enough. I want Oba to make Brock look like, oh shit, I'm getting my shit rocked. And I didn't see enough of that. But whatever. They're not going to do that to Brock. So go figure. There's the rumors of they're doing Oba versus Brock at Mania. I don't even know if that would be the move at all. But if it is, do it and have Oba win, of course. Bubba Ray again on this podcast again saying stupid shit. Obafemi is not up there yet enough to make Brock Lesnar in the ring. He needs to build up first. And let me tell you something. I said, in a comment that I left elsewhere. I said, well, listen, I try not to discredit those who know the business for their takes because you know the business and obviously you know more than me. You know the ins and outs and the workings more than me. But at the same time, don't tell me things. Don't hit me with your takes when we've seen the exact same thing elsewhere and it worked fine. Brock Lesnar's first 6 months in the company, he took on the Hardys, both of them, The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, who he made bleed on a SmackDown and made him, just bitched him out. The Rock, who he beat for the Undisputed Championship. The Undertaker, who he clean swept And you know who else is on that list that Brock Lesnar faced? Probably within the first month or two. Bubba Ray himself. So you have already seen that this can be done. He's chopping right now. Oba's chopping down a bunch of firewood on the way to Mania. He beat the Viking Raiders, War Raiders, I think. Well, War Raiders, War Raiders. He beat both of them on Raw for some reason. I didn't like that either. But if you're building up a star, you're building up a monster. That's the kind of thing you do. I don't like the visuals, but I understand. So why wouldn't he be ready to face Brock by Mania? And then he beats Brock at Mania. Was almost, whatever. Was he ready? Because he had a match with Brock in Mania. Was he ready? I mean, he had been in WWE about like 4 years at that point, but still. We just get on the internet in these podcasts and just say anything. Well, I got a mic too. Damn it. Anyway. So then we get Jey Uso coming out. And while Jey Uso is coming out and yeeting all the way down to the ring, Cody Rhodes and LA Knight eliminate Brock Lesnar. Jey finally makes it to the ring. He's in there and he said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to. And we roll it back and we're doing the thing. And it's like, oh, okay, listen, I'm not a Jey Uso hater, but this was a lot. This was a lot. Next out, we have Roman Reigns, and Roman comes out, and him and Jey are face to face, and he's like, yo. And then he slapped Jey, because what the fuck are we doing? Get the fuck out of here. Roman eliminates Miz, and then we get Fatu. Jacob Fatu was on the scene, baby. It's getting real Samoan up in here, you hear him? I mean, it was. Next up, we get Penta. Cody Rhodes is eliminating LA Knight. And at this point, again, if you remember, Roman Reigns was my pick because who else? Again, there's nobody else. It was either Roman Reigns or Cody, unfortunately. Those are the only two ways they were really going to go. Cody Rhodes eliminates LA Knight. Next out, we get Randy Orton. Gunther is number 30. So everybody's there. No Chris Jericho. Didn't need him. Because like everybody that's in this match, I think, just about could have been. You could have got rid of LA Parker. La Parker. Yeah, LA Park, somebody else. Could have got rid of La Parker. A few other people you probably could have swapped out. The fact that Finn Balor wasn't in there was also kind of confusing, but if he wasn't going to win, it probably was, probably made sense storyline wise. So next up we have, like the Gunther's out number 30. Randy Orton eliminates Javon Evans. Hung in there for a while. Gunther eliminates Penta. So Jacob Fatu had like super kicked Cody out of the ring. Cody was trying to get back in, and out of nowhere, Drew McIntyre comes and claymores him out of the ring or off the apron or however that went. That actually was pretty well done. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Further cementing where I think we're going for Mania. Next up, we have Roman eliminates Jacob Fatu. Roman eliminates Jey Uso. We're down to the final four: Logan Paul, Roman, Gunther. What's that? Roman Reigns, Randy Orton, Logan Paul, Gunther. I don't know why Logan Paul needs to be in the final four, but whatever, man. And at this point, I'm definitely like, oh yeah, it's definitely gonna be Roman because what else we gonna do here? Roman eliminates Logan Paul, get him out of here. Gunther eliminates Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns eliminates Gunther. Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble 2026 going to WrestleMania. It was a no-brainer. What else are you going to do? What else were you going to do? What else were you going to do? Could have made a star there, but I don't think they were going to do that. Now, apparently, there is word in that same, going back to my news. If I'm not mistaken, let's see if I can find. See what I can find. I believe that was changed as well. Let's see if I can find. There was a lot of news coming out of that show. The news that I think I saw was that Braun Breaker was tapped to win that match at one point in time. So I'm not sure why that changed. I mean, it makes sense. It probably was changed if Seth wasn't champion. But I'm not sure. Because there was no path. I mean, unless you're going to do Braun Breaker CM Punk again. There's a much bigger match on the horizon. And let's get into that. A lot of I did not watch Raw. I do have an idea of what happened. From clips I've seen, there's obviously the big promo battle to close because Roman made his pick immediately to CM Punk. Now, before I even get into what was said, I'm not even gonna get into what was said because I mean the promo was good. I guess I didn't watch it. They were taking shots, you know. But it was between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. And I think I may have even mentioned it in the article that I did with my picks. That I'm like, more than likely, if it's Roman, he's probably going to go against Punk at Mania. They could do Drew. Punk does make a little more sense because they've already been tap dancing around it. And it's the bigger marquee match. Because again, the thing with WrestleMania, I don't think story really matters. As much as I'm saying like there are things that make sense and things that like, kind of make sense to do one way or another storyline wise. It also doesn't matter because they're going to, especially in the main event, they're going to go with the biggest possible match that they can go with. And that is the biggest match they probably could go with, short of Roman versus Cody 3, which nobody really cares to see. But you haven't seen Roman Punk. So, especially not this Roman and this Punk. So, the bars were barred. Roman making his pick already is funny because what that means is you're not going to see Roman very much on this road to WrestleMania. He won the Rumble. He showed up the next night, made his pick. You're not going to see him again to after Elimination Chamber. At best. He'll show up here and there to promote the match and, we'll do some stuff to get it, whatever. He's not showing up for any of this stuff heading into Mania. Sorry. You're not going to see him till at least after Elimination Chamber. That much I can assure you. So. Let's see. Javon Evans gets a win. Yeah, what's the same one? Okay. Mm-hmm. Gunther comes out. Mocks AJ Styles. Out comes Dragon Lee. Gunther does the Brody Lee sleeper over the ropes kind of hanging thing, which will be funny. I start talking to AEW. This is going long. The AEW won't take as long because there's not as much. But did Owen have a match with the War Raiders? It doesn't look like he did. It looked like he just attacked both of them. Okay. I guess that's okay. That's not as bad. Brie Bella's back. I guess it makes sense. to have the Bellas together. They'll probably have a tag match again. Do I really want to see Rhea and Io versus the Bellas at Mania? No, but I guess that's, again, biggest match you can have, right? Why not? All right. Stephanie McCurry retains, and then we get the Roman. The fact that it was in Philly. Okay, yeah. So that's the thing. And then they had the big blow off and everything. Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right. Moving on. Talking about SmackDown. Cody did some stuff. It's viral right now. He talked about being Raheem and reference the internet meme. Blah, de, blah, de, blah. Ripley and Io take on Julia and Kiana James. Of course, they were the number one contenders for the women's tag team championships. Of course, Rhea Ripley and Io retain. Carmelo Hayes beat the Miz. All right. Tiffany Stratton. Okay. So there's a qualification match there. Tiffany Stratton versus Chelsea Green versus Lash Legend for the elimination qualifier. And you would think, like, okay, cool. Of course, Tiffany wins. And this is what I hate. This is the thing I don't like about WWE. When they have elimination chamber matches like that, and they do these like triple threat qualifiers, and there's always somebody who needs to be in the match that's in the qualifier that's not going to win. Lash Legend should absolutely, especially after her showing in the Rumble, absolutely be in that chamber match. But you put her in there against, and truthfully, maybe Chelsea probably should too, if we're being honest. But you put her in there with Tiffany, which almost kind of, depending on who else is in there, kind of tells me who is going to do what. Because here's the thing. I don't think Liv has declared yet. So why is there a SmackDown elimination? What is that even going? Okay, that's interesting. That's kind of interesting there. Yeah, I don't think Liv declared. Let me go look. There was a segment and I just kind of ignored it. No, let me finish this and then I'll go back. Anyway, Randy Orton has a qualifier. Yeah, okay. Aleister Black's there. Kid Wilson is in the ring giving a promo. Out comes Oba. Oba beats his ass. Why Oba's on SmackDown, I have no idea, but whatever. So Drew was making, so the Cody thing from earlier. Drew was coming out. Cody attacked him. Cut a promo. Drew's coming out again. Jacob Fatu attacks him. Cut the promo. We're getting the triple threat. Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Book it. Moving on. We get Shinsuke Nakamura versus Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga wins, of course. They've been building that for a few weeks too. I've kind of been seeing like they've been having interactions, and then they just blew it off on SmackDown because, of course, they did. Because neither one of these people are actually anybody who WWE really cares about. Go figure. Okay. Apollo Crews apparently was on TV. Look at that. Apollo Crews sighting. Man, release that man. Let him go somewhere else. You know, I'm gonna come back. So you got Liv and Raquel. Okay, Liv was on SmackDown. All right. Royal Rumble. Jade Cargill comes out. The champion wants to make herself clear. Liv chooses her. She'll beat that. Yes, Raquel with the head looking at Morgan. Doing Rachel the quadratic event. Excuse me. Oh, why would we? Oh, what the fuck? Okay, sorry. So there's a lot of Jordan Kirk. There's Liv and Raquel. Then Jay comes out. So then they're 2-on-1. Then Jordan comes out and she's like, "Well, you could be facing me." So then Nick Aldis like, "Oh, we're gonna do Jade and Jordan versus Liv and Raquel." And Jade and Jordan win. Interesting. Backstage segment: Ray Phoenix, Sami Zayn, Trick Williams. Maybe we could do Sammy versus Trick at Mania. That's something for Trick because he'll get the dub. I think, maybe that win for Sammy would do absolutely nothing. Finally, Drew gets to say what he's gonna say. Yada yada yada. Drew talks his shit. So we got an elimination match qualifier: Aleister Black, Solo Sikoa, Randy Orton. Of course, Randy Orton gets the dub. See, that is the type of match you have for a qualifier because you know Randy Orton's going. And not to say that, you know, neither one of those two guys should be in that chamber. So, you know, that makes sense. Because I guarantee they're going to put Nia in, and I would much rather have seen Lash. And what is going to end up being, however it's going to turn out, I'm going to say, see, you could have swapped Nia and Lash, and then we would have been fine. That's what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. That's it for SmackDown. That's it for WWE. WWE booking always leaves a lot to be desired. Let's get into some, I almost said some real wrestling. And I should zoom through this because we're already at an hour. But like I said, this is a super show. This is a super show because there's a lot. So Dynamite, there's not as much for WWE in AEW, but we're gonna talk about it. We open up Dynamite. Kenny Omega versus Rocky Romero. Kenny Omega gets the dub, of course. They have announced this weird, like, kind of tournament thing to determine who's gonna face MJF at Revolution. It's strange. How we're getting there is kind of strange. So the winner of Swerve, so the main event for that night was Swerve and Andrade. Okay. Not sure how Andrade gets in the title picture with Swerve, Kenny Omega, and Hangman, but okay. So the winner of Swerve and Andrade will take on Kenny Omega the following week. To decide the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. But that's not the case because there's also Hangman. They didn't mention that necessarily. This what I'm reading isn't exactly what it was. So what it was is the winner of Swerve and Andrade would then take on Kenny, and the winner of that match would take on Hangman at Grand Slam Australia, and the winner of that match would face the world champion at Revolution, which in theory should be MJF, but may not be. Hear me out. Next up, Jon Moxley, Ace Austin. Good showing for Ace Austin, but of course Jon Moxley wins. Kadosuke Takeshita comes out, face to face. I want that title. Cool. As he's like leaving, Davis and Doyle show up, take out Moxley. Okay, all right. Know where this is heading. Next up, we have Mark Briscoe taking on El Clone. Pretty good match. El Clone is actually very, very interesting to watch. She does a lot of interesting things. Took a J Driller and just bounced out of it. Internet hated that. But yeah, it's all good. Mark Briscoe gets the win, and then it really gets good. Mark Briscoe gets on the mic and he says, you know what? Love these open challenges, and I'm gonna do an open challenge on Collision, but it can't be anybody from the Don Callis family because there's so many of you motherfuckers, and I'm tired of beating y'all ass. And then the lights go out, and we get this music that we don't really that we never really heard before. And then there's this image that we kind of seen, and it's like, that looks familiar though. And then we see the words, Psycho Killer. That's right, Tommaso Ciampa is all elite. He just left WWE, or his contract just ran out from WWE. And now here he is in AEW. And he's going to challenge Tommaso Ciampa for the AEW TNT Championship on Collision in his first match in the company. Wild. Next up, we hear from MJF. He's talking about the crowd. Then out comes Brody King. They go back and forth on the mic a little bit. So MJF tells him again, hey, if you want a title shot, you got to be somebody meaningful. You got to be somebody, you got to do something. So Brody ultimately tells him, like, hey, you're right. I should be somebody meaningful. So I went to Tony Khan, and I got a match against somebody credible. You. So the following week, there will be an eliminator match, and if Brody beats MJF, he gets a title shot at Grand Slam Australia. Nice. Next up, we have Chris Statlander versus Tekla. Hell of a match again. They beat the stat matches are basically just, we're gonna beat the shit out of each other type matches. So Stat and Tekla do the damn thing. Good stuff. Good stuff. We got the man beating up Jack Perry backstage. Ricochet is a revelation in AEW. And I'll explain more later. Ricochet is a revelation. Next up, we have Davis and Doyle versus FTR for the AEW Tag Team Championship. FTR retained because, of course, Moxley interferes, gets his lick back, and FTR get the dub. Duh. Of course. But a good match, though. I say all that to kind of push out, but it was a good match. Davis and Doyle. I like them as a tag team, and which is messed up because I think Doyle is hurt already. So Davis is back to singles competition. Hopefully not. But I think there's been a lot of talk about it. I hadn't heard it official, but it's very possible. Then we get our main event, and oh boy. Swerve Strickland and Andrade El Idolo. Andrade back like he got something to prove, and they putting him in spots that he wasn't in the original AEW run and that he wasn't in WWE at any point. He is. That match was, I'm going to go back and watch it. Because it's one of them things that, like, of course it's a banger. Of course it's a banger. Why wouldn't it be? That match was wild. Andrade gets the win after a low blow. He will be moving on to face Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega and Andrade is lethal. What? The match that we were looking for when he first re-debuted. But this was a re-debut. When he re-debuted in AEW, sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. So we get to Collision. Not a lot to talk about with Collision. This happened after the Rumble, of course. Darby and Clark Connors. Darby gets the win, but Gabe Kidd comes out, so we're still doing that thing. And I think Clark Connors is probably going to start showing up more in AEW. So that's so sad, Darby. So sad. You got to get a friend. You got to find another Sting, man. We have the debut of the Rascals against Crew. Rascals, of course, get the dub. We have Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm in a mixed tag match. Wheeler Yuta and Marina come out. The challenge gets made. Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm versus versus Wheeler Yuta, Marina Shafir. Whoever takes the fall loses their hair. Wow. So next up, we got Eddie Kingston, Ortiz. GYV shows up, challenges them to Eddie Kingston challenges them to a parking lot brawl. Big Bill and Brian Keith show up, attack Kingston and Ortiz. GYV paid them off. Boom. Next up, we have Mark Briscoe versus Tommaso Ciampa. Hell of a match. Another banger. See, this is what I'm talking about with AEW versus WWE matches. These matches are over, and you're like, whew, I need a cigarette. Because that's a lot. That is a lot. I mean, just wild. And in the end, Tommaso Ciampa becomes the new AEW TNT champion in his first match with the company. Suck on that. I don't even know who we're telling that to, but suck on, man. Really happy to see that. His theme is really good. In the ring, he's as good as ever. Babyface, so I don't know, how long that's going to last. I know what I said about, here's the thing. Now, my call was, because I did say, I knew he was leaving. So I did say this on the last show that I did. My call was him leading the Death Riders. That's probably not going to be the case now. I'm glad he's there, bottom line. But I did call that he was going to AEW. Just throwing that out there. Next up, we had Kazuchika Okada versus Adam Priest. Another win for Okada. In the back, interviewing the Rascals. They pretty much insert themselves. So now we're going to have Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, and the Rascals taking on GYV, Big Bill, and Brian Keith on Collision tonight. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that myself. Also, quick thing. The mileage they're going to get out of the Rascals and their gimmick, I love it already. They were talking about being in the parking lot and needing medicine and just hanging out in the parking lot. Eddie comes and he cuts his promo, doing this thing. And then at the end, he's like, let's go to the parking lot. I need some medicine. It's just like, oh, that type of thing. It's just, I love it. I love it. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Main event, we had the Babes of Wrath. Willow and Harley taking on the Sisters of Sin, Julia Hart, Sky Blue. Babes of Wrath get the win, of course. Tekla comes out. Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford come out afterwards. Pretty sure Megan Bayne is next up for stat. But Tekla's not going away, but I think Megan Bayne is next up for stat. Heels stand tall to end the night. Really good show, Collision, especially with that Tommaso Ciampa. Go out of your way to watch. There are 3 matches that I'm going to tell you go out of your way to watch this week. That's 2 of them. Swerve Andrade, Tommaso Ciampa, Mark Briscoe. Find those 2 matches and watch them. Fantastic. And finally, we get to this week's Collision. See, we're finally getting up to speed. Opened up with the Death Riders. That's Mox, Pac, and Garcia. Daniel Garcia. Taking on Don Callis family, which was Konosuke Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and El Clone. Don Callis family comes away with the win. Very interesting, like heel versus heel thing happening here with the Don Callis family and the Death Riders. It's given the Death Riders shirts, the new ones say kind of Death Riders versus all or something like that, or versus the world, whatever. It's really Don Callis family versus everybody. Next up, we had Tony Storm and Orange Cassidy in another mixed tag match. They get the dub, and they show like, oh, they're kind of scared, but they're going to win. Nice. Looking forward to that as well at Grand Slam, Australia. Tony Storm's from Australia. Willie Yu is probably getting his haircut. Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd attack Darby in the middle of nowhere and essentially drag him out into the middle of nowhere and leave him out in the middle of a desert. Next, we had Hangman versus Mark Davis. Hangman gets the dub. Hard hitting match, of course, as you can imagine. That pretty much solidifies. I think it was already solidified, but it solidifies Hangman versus the winner of the next match, Kenny Omega versus Andrade Idolo in Australia. Kenny Omega, Andrade El Idolo. Banger! Again, another one from Andrade. 2 back-to-back bangers from Andrade is wild. Swerve, Don Callis tries to give Andrade the screwdriver. Swerve comes out, takes it from him because he got screwed last week, not with the screwdriver, but with a low blow. But while the ref is focused on Swerve, I actually think it was Aubrey. She's focused on Swerve. Andrade again with the low blow to Kenny Omega, hits the DM. 1, 2, 3. Andrade is going to take on Hangman at Grand Slam Australia. I did not see that coming. And I'm almost like, getting the Hangman MJF match at Revolution, I guess, is a thing, but I don't know if I thought it would be the thing. Could we be getting Andrade versus MJF? I don't know. Next up, we have the boobs. I did it again. Dag nabbit. Those boobs. Babes of Wrath. Willow Nightingale, Harley Cameron taking on Megan Bain, Penelope Ford. Eliminator match for the tag titles. This actually stands in the face of what I just said about Stat, because Bain and Ford, aka Mega Bad, is what they're calling them on TV. Not Divine, what did I call it? Divine Vanity? Not that, because that's what I thought it was. But that's what I saw somewhere else. Mega Bad is what we're called. Mega Bad beat the Babes of Wrath for a shot. I don't know when it's going to happen, but they're going to get a shot at the women's tag team title. That is not what I expected. So apparently, maybe we're still doing Tekla. Actually, you know what? Now that I say that, because I didn't see it here, did I just look over it? No, I didn't. There was a promo from Stat where Tekla wants another match, a rematch. Stat gets to pick the stipulation, and I think tonight on Collision she will name what that stipulation is. So there's still one match left for Tekla and Stat, which probably I imagine would happen in Australia. That card is it's starting to take shape. We already have Andrade versus Hangman there. And the world title match, perhaps. So we'll see. Next up, we had Jack Perry and Ricochet. Ricochet gets the dub. GOA gets involved. The Bucks come out to neutralize GOA, but Ricochet still gets the dub over Jack Perry. One of the few national championship matches that he has had. I still don't know why we have that title, but I'm glad he has it. So, go figure. Whatever. Main event time, we have MJF versus Brody King. There's a lot that happened here that didn't happen here. I had to rewind this like 3 times because I kept missing what happened. So, Andrade comes out. MJF comes out. Standing there in the crowd before the bell rings, starts a fuck ice chant. Only in AEW, folks. A fuck ice chant. This moment has gone viral. The news has picked it up. NBC news, not just like the news, like NBC major news outlets picking up. You love that kind of publicity, folks. And also, fuck ICE. So Hangman then comes out. MJF pays attention to Hangman. Brody gets MJF in his sleeper, hangs him over the top rope. He goes limp like that. Throws him back in the ring. Gonzo bomb. 1, 2, 3. MJF versus Brody King in Australia is happening. But then, and it was a squash. That's literally the whole match. It was a squash. Brody gets the title shot. It's happening in Australia. Andrade comes out to attack him. Then he tries to attack MJF. Actually, he does attack MJF. Hits him with his DM. And then goes to attack Brody. Here comes Hangman to take out Andrade. He goes for a buckshot on MJF. MJF hits him with the low blow. Brody King is now back up and hits another Gonzo bomb to close the show. So we're getting Brody versus MJF, the real match at Grand Slam Australia. I was wondering how they were going to do this. Not bad. Not bad at all. So this Grand Slam Australia show is definitely picking up steam. Like I said, we got the women. See, I knew I left something out. We got the Tony and Orange Cassidy versus the Death Riders match. We got Andrade and Hangman for the number one contendership at Revolution to face the champion at Revolution. And then we got Brody King and MJF for the world title. I can imagine there are probably 2 or 3 more matches they're gonna put on there. Like I said, I think Stat and Tekla will probably be there. They may hold off because I think it's probably next Saturday or this. Pretty sure it's Valentine's Day. Is it? That doesn't seem right, but it could be. Maybe it's the 21st. Why am I asking? Why am I guessing when I could just look? Because depending on when it is determines when those matches would actually take place. Okay, so yeah, it's the night of Valentine's Day, which sucks because I have plans. But so they will probably, if they don't put it on the Dynamite before. So matter of fact, I know it's not. This Dynamite coming up will be the last one before Grand Slam Australia. So there's a good chance that Tekla and Stat will be on that show, as well as Mega Bad versus the Babes of Wrath will be on that show as well. They may split those up because there may be too many women's segments because, AEW does struggle with that. And you do have to have something for Dynamite the week of and the week after. But we got a lot going on with AEW. Like, again, I saw something from Meltzer where he talked about there's a lot happening in AEW right now. And it's not overwhelming and it's not messy, but there's just so many stories all happening at once. And you love to see that. So kudos to AEW. Like I said, a lot happening in wrestling. And one thing I also wanted to, a couple of things I wanted to touch besides that. Reading up on Brock versus Obafemi. Still on the radar, they say? Okay. Potential clash. All right. I mean, it has to happen. The comparisons were immediate after Saturday night's main event for Cena's last match that Oba and Cody had their match, which now makes 2 Saturday night main events in a row. That Cody had a match that he didn't actually compete in, or that didn't end in a, like, against Oba it was a DQ because of was it Drew? I think somebody got involved. I think it was Drew. And now again with Jacob Fatu in this last Saturday night's main event. That's a thing. Okay. All right. That doesn't even mean anything. It just says that they're thinking about it, which duh. So, okay, Apollo Crews. And this is going to get into what I was about to say. Before I even talk about Apollo, let me look at this. Another thing about Liv in the women's division going into 42. What do you say? They are leaning towards Liv versus Stephanie Vaquer. Okay. All right. All right. I wonder would they do a multi women's match for the women's tag titles, maybe like a four corners. You do have a lot of teams there with women that don't have anything to do. You have Bailey and Lyra, Nia and Lash, the Bellas, Charlotte and Alexa have a story going there. You could do a four-way thing with Rhea and Io. One of those teams would be left out in the cold. Unless you did like a five-way thing, I don't think you do that either. That's some interesting. That's interesting for those women tag team titles for Mania. The thing that basically says here is that they looks like they're going with Liv and Stephanie Vaquer for Mania, I suppose. Anyway, so Ricochet's in a bit of hot water because he went on a social media rant basically talking about how WWE basically killed his legacy, tried to kill his legacy, or killed his legacy, and tried to kill his love for wrestling, and he just wanted to leave. The heat kind of comes from, he called out some names. He called out Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura. He mentioned Sami Zayn versus El Generico. He basically went about taking shots and naming names, right? And there's a lot of backlash because it's like, oh, everybody has something to say. But all he said is what people on the internet have been saying, period. And it's not just what people are saying. WWE does seem to be the place where legacies go to die. Think of Finn Balor in New Japan, building up Prince Devitt. He goes to NXT and he becomes the Demon Finn Balor, and he's mad over. He debuts in WWE, and yeah, he gets hurt in his first, and he wins the Universal Champion, the very first Universal Champion, but he gets hurt in the match, goes after injury, comes back, never sniffs it again. Not even close. Now he was pretty. They made him big-ish, but you know what Vince saw? Vince saw the Demon. He said, "I can do something with that. The Demon, oh, I can do something with that Demon," which didn't go anywhere. That was it. He was just marketing it at that point. He ends up getting squashed by the Fiend. Goes back down to NXT. Over like Rover immediately. NXT champion again. Running the brand. Instant reinvigoration. Back up to main. Essentially trash again. Now, I wouldn't even say trash, but the involvement with the Judgment Day is the biggest thing he's done since he's been back on main roster. And that's not saying that's small, because he's had some notable stuff, but nothing close to nothing close to being what he could have been and what he was at one point. Again, Universal Champion. Speaks for itself. Shinsuke, I talked about him earlier. Another prime example. And the one that I've been yelling about, and it's a clip here, or it's a story here. The story isn't even a big deal. Apollo Crews returned to WWE television during this week's episode of SmackDown. Cruz appeared in a backstage segment alongside Matt Cardona and Kit Wilson. The appearance marked his first time on main roster WWE TV since January 2025. My man's ain't been on main roster TV since over a year. He didn't do anything. He was just back there. Now, he was hurt. He was hurt. He was hurt for a majority of that they said. I recall him having the torn pec. He had a match in AAA in November. He's been on main event. And that's it. Nothing's going to come of it. He might have a match with Kit Wilson. He'll lose, probably. Because they need somebody to feed to Kit Wilson. Some of the story is him losing on the way to Matt Cardona. But he'll probably beat Apollo Crews because why not? Let that man go so he can go to AEW and have some bangers. And that's why people want people like AJ Styles is a little different because they're done right by AJ Styles for the most part. But still, let Uha go have some bangers somewhere. Let Prince Devitt go somewhere and have some bangers somewhere. Let these folks go. Because you're not going to do right by them. And they still got Prime. I wouldn't even say that for Sami Zayn. Just put a title on Sami Zayn at some point. Jeez Louise. You know. We've been toying with this for years at this point. Put a title on Kevin Owens. There's so many people that you could put a title on that you won't. And now there's this conversation about WWE and new stars. Because again, they could have used the Rumble to make somebody new. Liv's a multi-time champion. She didn't really need it. Same thing with Roman. Didn't need it. The Rumble does exist to do two things. Three things. Set up the highest caliber match you can set up, fulfill a storyline need, or make a new star. And they very often will go with the first two rather than the last two, or the last one, the new star. Jey Uso, could you consider him a quote unquote new star? Not necessarily. He's been in WWE for it's probably been 10 years at this point, if I'm not mistaken. And it may be, it may not even been that long, but I think it's been a decade at this point. Who won the women's last year? Charlotte last year. So you didn't do it last year either. I'm trying to think who was the last new star that they made in a Rumble. My mind instantly goes to Bianca, but I'm sure there's more. Bianca won that year. Ronda won the next year. Who won for 23? Bayley won for 24. Charlotte won for 25. Who won for 23? 23 was 39. Rhea, who was had already been a champion by that point, if I'm not mistaken. So no women. Cody won. I mean, was Cody a new star? Maybe. You can say that from a WWE perspective, maybe. Also, he'd been around for a while, though, so still not. Still, I guess, was on the fence, right? So the history isn't great for what that is. But what are you going to say, man? WWE is going to WWE. So I think Ricochet knows exactly what he was. Ricochet was absolutely right. He said nothing wrong. If you want to take issue with the fact that he called some names out, of people who are still currently with the company over there and being booked like crap currently over there. Sorry, man. Sorry. Anyway, this may be the longest episode of Talmbout Rasslin that there has been. So thank you for staying tuned through all of this. I've talked your ear off this much. So again, thank you for staying tuned in, staying locked in with me as I cover everything. We're up to speed. It's like middle of the day on a Saturday. It'll probably be late because it's so long. Still have to edit, get it uploaded. It's probably gonna take a while, but worst case scenario, it'll be up on Sunday because that's the thing these days. Because I'm taking so long to came. Again, apologies because again, technical difficulties and things of that nature. We're definitely still growing. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a rating, leave a review. Engage is key. Make sure you follow me here on Substack. Make sure you follow me on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Spotify, Black Phoenix Network, or Black Phoenix Brand on on YouTube. Make sure BLKFNX. You see it? Nope, doing it there. Nope. There. There it is. You see it? Black Phoenix Network, Black Phoenix Brand on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, rate, review. Comment. I want to make sure I hear about you. Tell me what you think about the Rumble. Tell me what you think about what's happening in AEW, what Ricochet had to say. Comment. If you stuck around this far, make sure you go all the way and leave a comment, all right? That being said, once again, as always, I know it's been a while since you heard it, like a week. I'm your host, the Untouchable JR Atkins. This is Talking About Wrestling, your primary destination for wrestling conversation. And until next time, we are... I don't have the gloves on, but you get it. Ow.